Hey guys, what's up? It's me, the Cubing Bear, and welcome back to another video. Today, I'm showing you how to solve the 8x8 Rubik's Cube. So before we go on to solving the Rubik's Cube, please keep in mind that you should already know how to solve a 3x3, you should already know how to solve a 3x3, 4x4, and a 5x5 in order to proceed with this tutorial. This is not meant for beginners. If you're solving this with no knowledge of anything from 4x4 or 5x5, then you're going to have a pretty hard time with this tutorial. But I will break it down as much as I can to make sure you have the best chance of solving this cube. Let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and start off with our first center, which is the white center. Now, since this is an even layered puzzle, we do have the constraint of there not being a center for us to determine which side is which means that when we start off with solving the 8x8, we can choose any side to be our white side. So in this case, I'll just choose this to be our white side, and this is where we'll start off. So the first thing we want to do is we want to start off by building the first 1x6 bar. So if you look at this 8x8, you can see that there's this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1x6 bar. We want to start building that off. And so since we have all pieces that are free right now, don't need to worry about damaging any other piece right now. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to try to build that off. So as you can see, I already see I have 2 right here. I can see that I already have 2 right here, which means I can start building the next piece. So I'm going to look around and I think I see one right there. I think this piece would help, and it does. As you can see, it does help. So I have 3 pieces so far. I'm looking for these 3, so we're going to keep looking. Okay, we can use this piece right here to help insert. Oh, never mind. It doesn't fit. That's part of the process, right? It's all about experimenting and seeing which piece works and doesn't work. So in this case, this piece does work like this. I can move on to these 2 pieces now. So I'm going to look around. I think this one works. And it does. So I just need this last piece. I'm looking around. This one could work. We'll insert it. And just like that, we've built the first bar. So now we can move on to the next part, which is building the second bar, which goes right here. So we can look around the piece now. Now we have to keep in mind that this is fixed. So any turns we make, we have to make sure we're not damaging this piece anymore as we move forward. So let's see. I like to start off by looking at this center 4x4 in the middle. As you can see, there's like a little 2x2 face in the middle. I like looking at that because that tells me which pieces in the middle can work. And I see one right there and then one up here. So I'm going to move that down here, making sure not to break. And I did break some of my work, so we're going to move that back up. And now we're focusing on that piece. We can line them up. As you can see, that does that. Let's check on our white bar. Where is it? It's still good. Okay, so we can continue. Keep looking for pieces. I believe this can work in our favor. And it does. So as you can see, this is very simple. We're just looking for the missing piece. We're not worried about anything right now. We're literally not worried about anything else right now on this cube. We're literally only worried about this piece right here. So we're going to keep looking around. And I see one right there. And it doesn't fit. That's okay. We're going to come across a lot of mistakes like that, and that's an okay thing. But as you can see, we're slowly building that infrastructure, and I'm slowly getting there, as you can see. And it is a lot of trial and error. You're just gonna have to see which piece fits and which one doesn't, and once it fits, you keep it there. So now that we've built the second bar, we can go ahead and insert just like that. And we have created the second bar. Now, we're going to be doing this for the rest of them now. We're going to try to build this, and then this, and this. And then we're just going to put it in, making sure not to break any of our progress. One tip that I have for you when you're doing this part is when you are One tip that I have for you when you're doing this part is to keep the white side either on the right or on the left side and just work right here between these 4 layers. No matter what turns I do, literally no matter what, like I could turn as much as I want here. And as long as I only use the outer layers for turns that are U or D moves, it will never mess up the white. It's never going to mess up. It's never going to mess up that white piece. So it's important to, it's literally never going to mess up that white side. So it's important to keep that in mind when you're making your bars, to make sure to not damage any work that you've done so far. So we're going to continue on, and then we'll move on to the next step. So as you can see, I'm starting to build this piece right here. I'm trying to see, I need this little corner piece. I see one right there, so I think I can just flip it. And I can. So now I'm just waiting right here. And once again, you see we have this little yellow bar. Ignore it. We don't want to care about that right now. We'll get to it when we get to it. Right now, you're just focused on building your bars and making sure they go in nicely. We're going to find the next piece now. Our next piece goes like this. I'm just looking around for the proper piece. It takes a while. It's definitely not it's not a fast process at all. It does take time, but you know, the more that you do 6x6, the more that you do the 8x8, the more easier this will come to you. But I think that's the piece I'm missing. I think it is. Now I can insert that just like that. It's looking good so far. We're almost done building the entire white side, which is a good thing, so we can keep going. Making sure not to damage anything in the process. Okay, so we're going to start building this outer layer. Alright, now I can insert that. We're almost done with our white center. We're just going literally going bar by bar, bar for bar, literally. You don't have to worry about any other piece on the puzzle. I know it can be a little overwhelming seeing all these colors and everything, but I promise you this is the most optimal way to do it. And now we're just looking for the piece that we're missing. We'll find it somewhere. It's right there. Okay, so once you're done with the white side, you're going to move on to the yellow side, which is this side right here. Now, all we really have to do is the same thing we did before, but instead we're going to build our bars like this. We're going to hold white like this on our left, and we're going to continue to structure and build our 1x6 bars. Then we'll insert it, and I'll show you how to insert bars into the other side. So let's do that, our first center. And so we're going to start building. I'm missing that thing. Okay, so once you've built your first bar, what you're going to do is you're going to move it up. You're going to perform a U2. And you're going to move it back down. So that's how to insert the bar up there. And then there's a special technique that you need to do once there's a bar already there and you want to move on to the next one. Alright, so now that we have created the second bar right here, we're going to insert it like this. So instead of us inserting it like this, where the two of them will be like that, we're actually going to insert it like this when they're both in the same bar. So they're in the same line. And the reason for that is because when we do this, then we do a U2 and go down, the bar will stay up. But if we did it the other way, where I do it in an empty spot, then I try to go down, it just stays back. It doesn't go where it needs to go. So for that reason, we're going to do it like this, where we line them up like this, move it up, do a U2, and move it back down. And that's going to allow us to, align the center correctly. So we're going to continue building our bars right here with white on the left, so we don't damage any of the work that we've done. And then once we are done inserting all the yellow sides, we can move on to the next two centers, which is going to require us to have a solved Rubik's Cube on the side so we can have correct notation. So let's do that now. Okay, so we just finished one of the bars, so we're going to insert it like this. Since this is the first bar, we don't have to worry about if we're in an empty space or not, so we're going to move it up, do a U2, move it back down, and that stays up there, and our work on the white side doesn't get damaged either. So let's keep going. Okay, so we have this bar. Okay, so we have this bar right here that needs to go up here. So we're going to make sure that it aligns with this bar that's already in. So we're going to slide that in there. Perform a U2. Then we can move it back down. And that has inserted the spot. So now we just need to do these next two bars. And we should be done with the yellow side. So once we're done with that, we're going to move on over to the next two centers. So I'll finish this center up. And then I'll see you guys over there. Okay, so now that we have the yellow side and the white side complete, we're going to move on over to our next four centers. Now, it's important that we have a 3x3 on standby because this shows us the correct color scheme of what the cube should be. So in our case, we'll start off with the green. We'll start off with the red side first. So we know that when we finish our red center, the one on the right has to be green. So that's how we know that that is the one that we're going to do. So we're going to do red first, then green, then orange, and then blue. So just like, so since this is an even layered puzzle, I can actually choose any one of these to be the center. So I'm going to choose this one and I'm going to start building the red center. So we're going to do what we did before, building that 1x6 bar, and we can freely move as long as we keep yellow center on the right, white center on the left, holding it like this so that we can freely move these slayers without ever worrying about messing up our side. All right, so we're going to start building the red center. So it's going to be the same as before. We're just building that one by We're just building that 1x6 bar like that, and then we move it vertically so we can continue working our work. And we're going to build the second 1x6 bar, so we're building it now. It's just a lot of trial and error. So as you can see, I'm trying to build this bar right here. All right, so you can see we're building it little by little, and we're just going to continue building that first center. Making sure that with every layer you do, make sure that this is correct. Don't ever leave your bars horizontal, always leave them vertical. That way when you're center building, if you make a move that's wrong, you can easily fix it really quickly. So that's what we're going to continue to keep doing now. Okay, so now that we have completed the red side, we can start moving on to our next center, which is going to be the green side. How do we know it's the green side? Because when we look at our 3x3, we know it's yellow on top, red in front, and green has to be the next center. Okay, so here we go with the green center. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building the same center. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building the green center, but every time we try to move something down here, we always got to make sure we're not breaking this red. It's very important that every move we do, we find some empty space to do a reverse move, to move it back and keep our work here. So let's say I wanted to move this down here, right? I'm almost done building that bar, but I have this bar that's gone, so I'm going to move that to a spot I'm okay with breaking, to move that back and continue doing my work. So just like that. So I've created the first bar. So now we're going to move this vertically to make sure we don't break any work, and we can start center building on these two layers here. So we're going to continue building the second side. So let's continue. Mind is not a circuit race. All right, so we just created the second bar. So just like we did before, we're going to move it so that they're both in the same line. Move that down, do a U2, move this back, and we just created the next star. And we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to build stuff over here. If there's a part right here that needs to go to another part over here, you can simply move it out by just moving it up, doing a U2 and moving down, right? That's going to allow you to move that piece outside. So it's just making sure to keep cycling your moves over and over, and just continuing to solve for the bars and inserting them in here. Once we're done with that, we can move on to commutators and doing the last two centers. So we're going to finish that up right now. All right. So now that we have finished both layers, so by now you should have done with the red and the green, and we're moving on over to the last two centers. Now this is where we're going to be using commutators. So commutator, what a commutator does is it allows you to swap two pieces and two pieces only. So for example, on a 5x5, if I wanted to switch these pieces together, I would first line them up on the same layer, move this down, and then I would move this in this direction away from this area and move another piece down so that I can move this back up, and just reverse my moves. And that pretty much allows us to switch those pieces and solve the center little by little. That's kind of the breakdown of how we're going to be doing these commutators. So we're going to be looking for pieces that just aren't blue or aren't orange, and we're just going to keep swapping little by little. So in our case right here, since we want this to be the orange side, I want to make sure that I swap all the orange pieces here. Now I can see that according to this, I'm going to go layer by layer. So first I want to deal with this blue right here, and you can see that this is like this, so we can just move all this down, perform a U2 and move it back up, and that kind of helps us. So now we're going to try to finish off this bar by putting this thing. I could see that one goes there. You could check to make sure that the sequence will work. So in this case, I'm just looking at that piece right there, and if I move this down, I know that this will work. So I'm going to try that now. So I'm going to do this, move it out of the way, move it down, reverse that, move this back up, move this back, and then move this up. So that has fixed this, and now we can continue to keep going. So now we're just going to keep looking for pieces that are blue and pieces that are not blue. So in our case right here, we have two oranges, so we can actually do two at once. So in our case, we can actually do two at once. We have two oranges right here that we can actually switch with two blues, so we're going to do that. We can do that, move it out of the way. Now instead of putting one layer down, because we want to make sure these two get swapped, we're going to put two layers down at the same time. Move that back, move it up, move this back, move those both layers up, and that has allowed us to fix it. As you can see, it's a process, right? It takes a while. This is definitely not the most smoothest thing in the world. Nice. Right? But you know, the more that we keep going at it, the better it's gonna be for us. And we just got to keep going with it. So as you can see, I'm looking these two oranges. Can make sure that they get swapped. And it's kind of working. So it's all about keeping the motion going. So here's another example right here. So if I move these things down, then these two will get swapped. So I can do that. It's already down. Move it out of the way. Move these down, both of the layers. Move this back. Move it back up. Move this back to move these guys back up. And it works like that. If you want a more in-depth comprehensive guide, I've already made a video kind of covering how commutators work. So I'll leave that video in the card above, so you could take a look at that to help you out. We're going to continue going though. So we can do these two layers. You can see that the more that you do this, the more it's gonna work, the more that the switching will take into effect, and it just takes a while, right? Because there's so many pieces, it's just gonna take a while for you to be able to get it right. So looks like we're almost done. And here we are with our semi-last piece. And once that's in, finally have all the pieces there and all your centers are solved. Now you can move on to edge pairing, and that will be a more simpler thing. So let's go to edge pairing. Okay, so now that we're ready for edge pairing, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to pair up all the white edges and then do all the yellow edges, and then we'll save the last 4 edges for last. So at this point, at this point in time, you can no longer just move in a piece by doing this. You must do an algorithm to move something from the top layer to the left side, holding it like this. To move something from the top layer to the left side, you're going to do an L prime UL. To move something from here to the right side, you're going to do an R U prime R prime. You can no longer just go, okay, this needs to go here, so I'm just going to move it like that. You can't do that anymore. Because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing something called free slicing. Now, free slicing is we are basically going to be doing a bunch of slices like this all over the cube to make a pair and then move it up into the top or the bottom layer. Now, it's important that you insert an edge or take out an edge using the algorithm I just showed you, because if you don't do that, you're going to mess up your centers, and you do not want to start from square one, especially on a big puzzle like this. So let's get started. We're going to get started with doing the orange and white. And I can already find some pieces right here that are orange and white like this one. Now I see this orange and white up here, and I know that this needs to go in on the right side. Why? Because white and orange are facing me, and if they're opposite colors facing me, it means it needs to go on the right. If they're colors that are looking at me the same way, it needs to go on the left side. So let's go. So we're gonna do that, right? This needs to come in like this. Okay, I can now slice. So I've already paired it up. Now this one needs to be reversed. So to reverse a piece, you're going to do this. You're going to do R, U, R prime, then insert it from the left. That piece is set up. We're going to keep looking. And here's one right here. If I try to do an insertion, it won't work because it needs to be reversed. So where is it? So now that we know this needs to be reversed, we're going to put it on the left side, insert it on the right, and now we can put it in. And just like that, it's in, so we can keep looking around. Here's another one. Now I know it's going to come in on the right because those two are different colors. I'm looking around. Here's the last piece. So because they're the same, because these two are the same color, I can just simply insert it in like this. Then I have a perfect edge. Once I have a perfect edge like this, I'm going to move it up on top with a simple RU R prime. Now make sure when you do this RU R prime sequence, right, that this is empty, that this is not a solved side. If it's a solved side, you got to move to the bottom. So we're done with that. Let's move on. We'll do the red and white next. Here's one piece. They're both the same, which means I can insert it on the right easily. Okay, let's see on the top if there's any other piece. There's one right here. Now see, they're opposite colors, which means I got to insert it from the left. Let's keep looking. Here's one. They're the same color, right? White is white, so we can put it in on the right easily. Okay. I'm looking around on top. I don't see anything, so I can flip it now, rotate. Here's one right here. Now they're the same color. Now, since they're the same color, I can move it in on the left now. Just like that. Here's the last one. Now they're facing each other, same color, so now I know I can insert it like this. Insert. Now I'm going to flip it again because I already had a white side up here. Now I know, now I can move it up and continue on. So now we're going to do white and green. There's nothing, I don't see anything here or here, so we're going to flip. Here's one. Here's one. Now because, right, since this is opposite, it means I can't just insert it like this because they won't match, which means I have to put it in from the left like this. Then I can rotate. Here's one. Now white and green don't match, which means I have to put it in from the left. Here's another one, white and green. They're not the same color, which means I have to do it like this. Is that white and green? It is. And once again, it doesn't fit, so I got to do it like this. Okay, we're almost there. Looking around. Here's the last piece. Once again, it's different color, so I got to put it in like this. Insert. We'll rotate again because this is where all our white pieces are. We're going to go and insert it on top. We can keep going. Now we're going to do the last one, which is the blue and white. I don't see anything up here, so we're going to flip. And here's two blue and white, so they're already paired up. Perfect. Here it is. So we can see right here, the white does match with white, which means I can easily put it in on the left. And I can slice. Here's another one. As you can see, these colors are not facing each other. And even if I put it on the left, it won't work, which means I got to put it in like this. Oh, here it is right here. These two are facing the same color. These two are the same color, which means I can insert it. Here it is right here. And I just finished that side. So now what I can do is I can insert it. Now make sure when you insert the final piece to make this a full solved side, don't insert it on an empty layer. Insert it on a layer that's already solved. Because when you do an U prime R prime, it will make sure all your edges stay on top. And now we can forever leave it like this flipped. We never have to flip it again because this is already at the bottom and solved. There's never going to be a piece we're looking for down there. So all the pieces we're looking for now are up here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to finish the yellow centers now and put them on top. And then once we're done with that, we're going to go on to last four centers and we're going to do some parity cases and algorithms. Okay, so by now you should have, all right, so by now you should have both the bottom and the top solved. And now what we can do is if you did this correctly, when we move these layers back, you can slice them back now so that all the colors are matching. You should have it so that your centers are not damaged, and we can move on to the last 4 centers. Now what we're going to do for the last 4 centers is we're going to have 2 in the front and 2 somewhere on the top. So we're going to do facing the 2 unsolved layers, any 2 unsolved layers in front of us. We're going to do an R, U, R prime, and then an L prime, U prime, L. Then we're going to move on to the other 2 that are unsolved. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to solve for the... Now we're just going to keep solving for the center. So as you can see, this one is already solved with blue and green. I mean, green and red. So I'm going to look for this piece that's green and red as well. And it's this one right here. This needs to go here. These 2 are the same color, which means I can insert it on the right. Insert it. Now it's very important when you find the next piece to insert, make sure that when you slice back, it's okay to damage it. Now in this case, this is already unsolved. This is not matching up with this, which means it's okay to damage it when I slice back. And we're going to continue to do that routine. So now we're going to look for the blue and red piece, which I think it's this one. They are the same color, which means I can insert it like this, like that. And then I'm going to look for another piece, making sure that I'm okay with damaging that part when I slice back. Let's see, now we gotta look for a green and white. Now since they're the same color, it means they're not gonna fit there, which means that's not the right piece. These ones may be the correct piece. And it is because that's orange and that's green, so when I slice, they'll be the same color. Gotta find a piece that you're okay with slicing back on. And I believe this one goes like this because this is red and blue. Gonna slice it. Look for a piece that you're okay with breaking. This one is the one. And you solved it. Now you might come across a special case. You might come across a case like this, where this one and this one need to be where this piece and this piece needs to be switched, but there's nothing else, like there's no other place. Like this one's already solved, this one's already solved. Like there's nothing else I can do to switch it with so that when I slice back something won't be damaged. So this is called a parity case, and here's how you fix the parity case. You're going to hold it like this with both of them on your right side ready to be swapped, and you're going to perform this algorithm. And that's going to solve for both of those pieces. All right, so we're going to continue on. Now we're moved on to the outermost layer. And this is basically how it works. This is how you keep doing it. You keep finding a piece you want to switch with, so you can keep on switching. And you know, here's another special case like this where we're on the, actually no. And here we have parity once again. These are the final 2 layers and there's nothing else left. So we're going to perform the parity algorithm again. And it goes like this. Now here's another special case you might get. You might get a case like this where all the other pieces are solved, but you have these last 2, and it kind of looks like this where multiple pieces are unsolved on one side. What do I do then? So what you're going to do is you're going to line up so that two colors, so you're going to line it up so 2 colors are the same. So in this case, orange and orange match, and you're going to slice, perform this algorithm, you're going to do an R, U prime, R prime. Then you're going to move it like this and move this on the left side. Then you're going to slice back. And that's going to solve for those two edges simultaneously, and also flip these two. And also flip these two at the same time. So you've made it to the last part. So once we have all edges solved and all of our centers are solved, now we just solve it like a big 3x3. And if you don't know how to solve a 3x3, then you should go learn how to solve a 3x3 while you're in this stage. But yeah, this is the final step. You've pretty much have done it. You've solved your 8x8. You're mere moments away from achieving an amazing achievement of being able to solve an 8x8 Rubik's Cube, something that most people cannot do. And then just like that, you have solved the 8x8 Rubik's Cube. Now, you might get a case that looks like this, where it kind of looks like an H perm, but the other two are solved. This is PLL parity, and here's how to solve for PLL parity. You do this. Here is OLL parity. It looks like this, and this is how you solve for it. So that is our 8x8 tutorial. I really hope you guys learned. I really hope this tutorial was helpful for you guys. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing. I know I went fast in a couple of steps, but if you look at my previous tutorials, at least for the commutators and edge pairing, I go much more in depth on my 6x6 and 7x7 and 5x5 videos. So you could check those out if you need a little bit more help on your edge pairing. But at this point in time, if you're doing 8x8, you should already know how to do edge pairing and know how to do center building as well. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to go ahead and give the video a like. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications. Let me know what other tutorials you would like to see next, and I'll see y'all in the next one. It's a Q and Brow out. Peace out, guys.